I'm going to do something a little different. Normally, on this particular Tuesday, we would be dropping an interview. But in light of some current events, I came on and I'd like to talk about a couple things that I think we're all responsible for as leaders. Now, this is not, I want to repeat, this is not a political podcast, and this is not going to be political content. It doesn't matter to me whether you love Charlie Kirk or you hated Charlie Kirk. The point I want to make about Charlie Kirk, like Martin Luther King Jr., Mother Teresa, Abraham Lincoln, the Kennedy brothers, Malcolm X, the list goes on and on, is that we all have the power to change the world.
Welcome to the Leadership and Love podcast. We will cover leadership, mindset, personal development, and sales and marketing. You will experience thought-provoking conversations with both nationally and internationally recognized leaders. Our goal is to inspire you and deliver actionable items that you can implement that are going to help you accelerate your growth. Get ready to discover the magic and the power when you lead with love.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Leadership and Love. This is going to be a special edition podcast, as we would normally be dropping an interview with somebody that's, nationally renowned and giving you a bunch of value and benefits that we've done in the past. But today, I wanted to do something a little different as my special edition in memory and honor of Charlie Kirk. Now, this is not, I want to repeat, this is not a political podcast, and this is not going to be political content. It doesn't matter to me whether you love Charlie Kirk or you hated Charlie Kirk. The point I want to make about Charlie Kirk, like Martin Luther King Jr., Mother Teresa, Abraham Lincoln, the Kennedy brothers, Malcolm X, the list goes on and on, is that we all have the power to change the world. And I was recently having a conversation with somebody, and I want you to know that you have the power to change the world. We don't often think of it that way, but you don't have to be Mother Teresa or Martin Luther King Jr. or any of those other people, Mahatma Gandhi. You don't have to be any of those people to change the world. You can change the world in a very simple, easy way. My example that I wanted to share because of Charlie Kirk is, at the tender young age of 31, he had already made a big impact. And he was passionate about what he was doing. Again, whether you loved him or hate him, that's beside the point. My point is he was making an impact. One of the things that I would suggest is you have the ability to use what you've been given. Now, I want you to understand that nobody, and I mean nobody in the history of forever, is you. You have gifts, you have skills, you have talents, you have wisdom, you have stories, you have a plethora of things that you can offer to the world. And it doesn't take a lot to put that into the world. So today, what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk about how we can change the world and how we can leave our legacy, because I think that that's really important. And I think that we've just been shown an example of what's possible. So I like to start with some really easy stuff right off the bat. I can tell you that I'm a hugger, but smiling at somebody, being genuinely interested in asking them how they're doing, how's their day going, shake somebody's hand, give somebody a hug. One of my things that I like to do, I don't go through drive-thrus very often, but whenever I do, I pay for whoever's behind me. Sometimes that's a mother with a big order for all the kids in the car. But that's, again, I just want to share with you that you have gifts, skills, and talents. And if you think you don't, these are ways that you can change the world in a positive, loving way as a leader. And remember, we're all leaders. Somebody's always watching you do something, even if they're just watching you pump gas. Speaking of, while you're at the gas pump, say hello or good morning to the person next to you or the person across the way from you at the other pump. You'll be amazed, rather, at the things that are going to happen, the conversations that are going to come up. I also want you to know that you can start up a conversation in the line waiting at the grocery store or any other line as far as that goes. And we all have more in common than we have that are dissimilar. Now, let's dive into you specifically. Are you a great singer? Do you love to read? Do you know how to dance? Do you know how to coach sports? The list of things that you specifically can do. And remember, in the history of forever, there's never been anybody that's lived your life, had your stories. Even if you have a twin, there's nobody like you, which is a pretty cool thing to think about and pretty awesome when we think about it in context of the entire world. One of the things that I'd like to do now is just share some ideas with you on how you can go out and have an impact and change the world. Now, the thing I want to stress here before I get into my list of things, and this is not going to be a complete list by any means, it's just going to be a list of some ideas that I've jotted down to help jog your memory and ways you can do things. So, one of the things that you can do is think about who or what are you passionate about. So, for example, I'm passionate about music and I love to play the guitar. I actually helped launch the guitar program at the Wakanda Park District. And I did that because I was passionate about it. I ended up teaching people how to play guitar. It was a lot of fun. And then I grew it to a point where it was running without me, and I stepped away from it. And then it still continues to this day. So there are numbers of things that we can do. But what I want to stress is, what are you passionate about? Are you passionate about swimming? Are you passionate about baseball, soccer, rugby, lacrosse, knitting, learning how to read, computer skills, how to use a cell phone? There's a bunch of things that you know how to do that you just take for granted that other people don't know how to do. So you could work someplace as a coach, as a mentor, and you could mentor people how to knit, how to crochet, how to write, how to read, how to write and read, or how to write their own books or their stories. Here's something, while I'm speaking of stories, here's something very, very valuable. You've lived through some stuff that nobody else has, and you survived it in a way that probably nobody else has. Tell your stories. Your stories matter. Your stories will help change other people's lives. Your stories can help people, heal people, and serve people. Very, very powerful to do all those things. One of the things that's cool is, again, your stories, you're going to be very passionate about it. But here's some other ideas I had. Think about where you could go volunteer. You could volunteer at the library. You could volunteer at your local hospital. You could volunteer at your local food pantry. You could volunteer for organizations, specifically nonprofits, that you're passionate about. It could be the American Heart Association. It could be for orphans. It could be disabled veterans. The list of those nonprofits goes on and on. It could be homeless shelters. It could be shelters for abused women and their children. There's all kinds of places you can go spend some of your time and give your gifts, skills, and talents to have that impact, to create and maintain your legacy. And what's really cool about this, I want to share this with you because I share it with speakers, coaches, and literally everybody who's out doing something. There's a thing called the downstream. And the downstream for me is if this podcast, as an example, if I only give one person and only one person takes action on any of these ideas, that's a downstream, that's an effect. But I will never know the complete effect or how far that reaches in the downstream, and I'm not supposed to, because if I knew how big it was, I wouldn't be able to get my head out the door because our egos would blow up. So we'll never ever know the downstream. You've already had a positive impact on people's lives, and you may never know that you've done it, and two, even if you do know you had a positive impact and changed the trajectory of their life, you will never know the full impact on the people that they've been in contact because they were in contact with you. So again, this downstream thing, very powerful, and just let it go. I give it to the universe, God, Allah, Buddha, whoever that is for you. Give it to the universe and let the universe go do whatever they're going to go do with it. Your goal is just to show up on a regular basis and add value. Here's some other ideas. So again, so you could mentor kids. I mentor kids at the high school. You could mentor kids at the junior high, at the grade school. You could volunteer to read to kids at preschools. You could volunteer to read at kids in daycare. You could volunteer to read at senior living facilities and assisted living facilities. If you've got some entertainment, if you could know magic, if you could read stories to the seniors, you could play music to the seniors, you could go in and lead games and fun time for the seniors. There is just an unlimited amount of things that every one of us can do somewhere. But my key for this, and again, I want you to follow your passion. I want you to follow and go help people that you're most passionate about. Here's one of my favorite questions, and this will help you on this journey. One of the things I ask people, and I often do this with my business consulting clients, because one of my goals for my business consulting clients is for them to have companies that are so successful that they can donate $1 million. And that might be $1 million over time, not one payment, but $1 million over time. And here's the question. If I provided you with everything you and your family would need for the next 2 or 3 generations, I gave you all the money you needed for housing, clothes, vacations, food, everything. You had no need for money for the next 3 to 4 generations. Everybody's got all the money they need. And I gave you a check for $10 million. Who would you go help? What would you do with that $10 million? Most people are pretty quick with that answer. If you have to think about it, that's okay, but that's going to lead you to where you can go volunteer your time, where you can go share your gifts, skills, and talents. Now, one of the cool things is there's also things that you can do where you can share your gifts, skills, talents, experience, wisdom, knowledge, heart, love. I could go on and on. And sometimes you can get paid for it. So this doesn't have to be a give it away and not get paid for it. There are many people who are working with their gifts, skills, and talents in their profession, and they're having a big positive impact on the world. Think about massage therapists as an example. They're passionate about helping and healing and serving people, and they're getting paid to do that in their business. So it doesn't necessarily mean you have to do this for free. And how could the business that you have, one of the things I share with my consulting clients is your business that you currently have, if you own a business, or your job is your spiritual practice. It's how you show up to serve the world. That's what every business's goal is to serve their clients. That's serving the world. What are you doing? How can you add value to those people? Now, one of the things that you want at some point is, again, your heart and passion. And then here's the next piece I'd like to add. Put it on your calendar and do it consistently. Every week, pour into somebody. Now, if you're really busy, even donating money is very powerful. I know a bunch of you out there are already tithers. You're donating to causes that you believe are important to you. One of those for me is the local food pantry. In the Marines, I had a number of times, 3 to be exact, where I went 4 or 5 days without food. I know what it's like to be hungry, and it is not, it is not fun to be hungry. And so that's something that I'm passionate about. So I donate to the food pantry as well as doing other things with my time. But that's one of the things I give money to. Here's something else I'd like you to think about with charities and nonprofits. There are a bunch of charities and nonprofits out there. I mean, literally probably hundreds of thousands at this point. Pick your top 3. You can have more impact by picking your top 3 and going after those. And so if you had $300 to give, you could give 100, 100, 100. But if you had 30 nonprofits and you give 10, 10, 10, your impact's not as big. It's a lot wider, but I highly recommend that you go with your top 3. And again, what are you passionate about? Like I said, one of mine is the food pantry. Another one of mine is Make-A-Wish Foundation. My granddaughter had a life-threatening disease, and by the grace of God, she survived it. I donate to Make-A-Wish because they do some amazing things and give kids their wish. And sometimes they live and sometimes they don't. But either way, they had this beautiful, wonderful experience. So again, that's just some of the things that I like to do. But again, you can see I'm connecting passion and real life experiences that I've had with some of these organizations or in my life that's really inspired me to do this stuff. And again, you don't have to be as big or as popular or as famous as a Martin Luther King Jr. or a Charlie Kirk or John F. Kennedy or Robert Kennedy or Malcolm X or Gandhi or Mother Teresa, but you can have an impact. And I believe that when we love each other, when we're kind and sharing and give our gifts, it's like throwing a pebble in a calm pond. It ripples out in every direction into the universe, sharing the beauty of that love, your kindness, your heart, your wisdom, your gifts, your talents, your skills. So that's my special edition for this week's episode of the Leadership in Love podcast. And again, like every one of my podcasts, I just like you to pick something. And I want to share something with you. In today's world, it's really easy. One of the things that I get a lot of pleasure from is on a regular basis, I just text people that I know that are in my phone, and I tell them something very positive. I'll tell them how much I appreciate them, how much I love them, how much they've impacted my life, how grateful I am they are in my life, all those things. And so what I'd like you to do is realize, like every podcast, I ask you, take action. So I'd like you to think about, even if it's going to sit down and contemplate, and you could do this with your family. As a family, you might want to go donate your time cleaning up a forest preserve or cleaning up the side of a highway. But there's lots of things you can do, but I'd like you to take action on something today. Figure out, if you don't know what it is, then figure out what it is. If you already know what your heart's passionate about and the people you want to help, then sit down and figure out, how can you support that organization, either with your time, your gifts, your skills, your talents, or with some of your money. But do something, because we all have the power to change the world. And I can tell you, the thing that's inspired me about the Charlie Kirk story is that we all have the power to change the world. And he was inspiring people to get off their butts and go do something. His thing was to go get them to vote, getting young people involved in politics. Again, I'm not saying what he did was good or bad. There's some things that he said I didn't agree with. There were some things he said that I did agree with. And that's probably true of everybody. And we need to get back to that place where we just understand that there's good and bad, and everybody does things we support and admire, and everybody does some goofy things that we do not support and don't admire. But that doesn't mean we need to hate each other. It means that what we need to get focused on is our impact, our legacy. So with that being said, I'll get off my soapbox, but go change the world. You have the power to do it. And I'd love to hear if you want to drop an email to us at Louie at the Gifted Leader. If you want to post on any of our social media channels, the things that you're doing to change the world, I'd welcome it. And I would really, really like to hear some of those things, because it's powerful and amazing what you guys can do. Let's go kick some butt.
Thanks again for joining us and listening to this episode of Leadership and Love. I would like to challenge you to ask yourself, what's one thing that you heard today that you can implement immediately to improve your leadership and accelerate your growth? If you've gotten value out of this episode or learned something that you can implement today, we'd ask that you please share it with those that you care about. Our goal is to create more leaders who are leading with love.